Coming up on today's episode.
When I look at renovation project, I think I discard almost 90-95%.
Wow.
Because you're pretty much going to only, just to get an example, I was looking in Merton a month ago. The market, the tenant, is crashing the house. We're looking at this one. We estimate was going to spend around 70K to fix up everything.
Jesus.
And that was actually with our own team and trades where we get already discounted. If it was someone else, maybe cost even 100K.
Yeah.
And when we look to put an offer, they want around 530 to 550. I said to the agent, I said, look, I'm not even a negotiate with you.
Dodgy advice and bad decisions can cost you big in real estate. We're here to make sure that doesn't happen. Welcome to the No BS Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Agresta, and it's time to take control of your property journey together.
Hi, my name is Mario Conte, and I'm a buyer's agent from Croid Property, and I'm here to No BS Real Estate Podcast. I'm very excited to do this interview.
Welcome back, everyone, to the No BS Real Estate Podcast, your listening how-to guide to the Aussie finance and real estate market. I'm your host, Joe Agresta. Now, they say that property can change your life, but sometimes it nearly breaks you first. Today's guest knows both sides of that story. Mario Conte moved to Australia from Italy 15 years ago with no English, no connections, and a dream to build a new life. He bought his first home in Canberra, took on a full renovation while studying and working, and ended up turning that experience into a $200,000 profit. That project sparked a love of property that led to 15 successful purchases across Victoria. And now he's built a career helping others build wealth the smart way. So without further ado, Mario, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we bonded straight away, right? Because we're both Italian and we had to, talk in our native language. And I'm born here, so I'm a little bit different to Mario. He's the real deal, right?
Your Italian is actually pretty good.
I'm going to take that as a compliment. My mum will as well. And my grandparents.
If you come home alive, I kill you.
But I think what I loved is, when we were talking and you were explaining how you got into property, I was really impressed by, the story of coming to a country where you couldn't.
That is correct. I literally could not even say, can I please have an espresso? It was just with the gesture.
Oh my God, I can't picture that. And now you're in a position where you're advising people how to build that wealth and build that property portfolio that you did for yourself. So I can't wait to get into your story for our listeners because I think it's going to inspire a lot of people that think that all hope is lost. And it's like, no, let's hear the story. Let's see how, you can help them also achieve their goals.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So take us back to that very first renovation. What pushed you to take it on? How did you kind of get into this space?
So everything started with the help of my girlfriend and now wife. So because I didn't speak any English, the idea was for me to take a few years off from work so I could go to school full time. And we come up with this crazy idea of, let's go to buy something old so I can do the renovation while studying. And we purchased this property in Deakin. The property was literally the grandma house, carpet even in the bathroom, pink tile. And so everything was great. But of course, going through, study, relationship, living in a renovation house, put kind of strain on our relationship as well and finding the boundary of, of running the renovation. But also was the first one as well. So there was a lot of stress.
Oh, there would have been a heap of stress, especially you're juggling, studying, working, new relationship, and you want to do a whole renovation. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
How, I guess, it was obviously a very stressful time, and I think that's a common experience with renovation, because there's so much to do. So did you actually do the renovation yourself or did you get contractors to help?
No, majority of the renovation I did myself, from all the tiling, from painting. I did most. I only, get a plumber and the electrician that are the things. And I got also an expert, carpenter to kind of help me out a bit. Yeah, it is. So I did everything from demolition. I was It was a great one.
Good on you. That's a huge task.
I did the whole the cement topping in the bathrooms. I
What?
remember I went to sleep around 8 o'clock because I was.
So you missed New Year's Eve.
Yes.
You're like, I don't care. But it's these sacrifices, right, that you make for those first decisions, I guess, in property, when you're like, you have a goal in mind and you had a target that you wanted to reach. So it's like nothing can stop you from the goal.
Totally. Yeah. We end up actually so string up the relationship with my girlfriend and my wife because we pretty much sat down and say, okay, what, our strengths and what are our weaknesses. And the best part was actually we complement each other. So what was my strength, her weakness, and what was my weakness, especially with English, she was able, because my wife is Australian, so
of course.
So, and we used that difficulty time to actually create a really great relationship as a business, as a friends, but also as a couple.
That's amazing. Like, to turn it around in that stressful time, the fact that you two were able to communicate and say, we can work through this, that's amazing. And with that property, obviously you did your own renovation there too, like, outside of the plumbing and electrical. You walked away with a $200,000 profit approximately back then. What did that teach you about risk, reward, and hard work?
Great one. So because it was my first renovation, what I did was, once I was looking to buy the first renovation project, we kind of kept the business card of the real estate agent that we thought they were good. And when we start with this renovation, before I even start, I call back them for a coffee. Okay. And I try to learn from them. I say, who will go to buy this property? Who is the target market? What are the things that makes money? What things that don't? For example, I wanted to replace the windows, put double glazing.
Yeah.
As Italian in Europe,
double glazing.
You end up double glazing, people are happy to pay more. And all the agents said, sorry, Mario, it's Australia. They pretty much don't go to pay more for the windows because they're double glazing. It's great if you want to do for yourself. And so it was kind of learning a process to understand what was working and what no. And that was actually how I reduced my risk, because I pretty much create a product that I already know who was going to buy.
I like the way you did that. It's like you just went straight to the source and said, what's someone going to pay more for? And these are the things, like you said, double glazing is a big thing, Italian culture as well, to have that extra level of security and safety, and, it's more soundproof, like all these benefits that we see that a lot of people, like you said, the agent said to you, it's a personal choice. It's like, if you want it for you, do it, but no one's going to pay you an extra $10,000 because you did the double glazing.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting. And I think, were there any things that you learnt at that period that were the ones that he kind of said, this is what's going to get you the extra value?
Yes, the bigger focus was around the kitchen. And even things like appliances. I know it sounds ridiculous, but in a Canberra, if you don't have a Miele or Bosch, it's pretty much back then, you can have, a cheaper brand. So you need everything high-ending. But also was the target market. So a lot of people working in Canberra, they're professional working with the government. So they're actually earning good money. And also the reason why the renovation was going to be successful, because these people tend to work 10 hours a day, they focus on their career. So if we were able to deliver a great product, we can attract the people. And one of the things, funny enough, I still remember now when we said, who is going to buy this property? The property was a 3-bedroom with 2 living rooms, 2 bathrooms, double garage, 600 square meters. And they said, empty nest or younger family. But because they're making big money, so that was literally felt like a smaller house, where with Melbourne standard, you can actually have a big family.
Correct. Yeah, I was like, in Melbourne, that's pretty much a very standard first home buyer house.
Yes. But there was a different market. So in fact, it's not a coincidence. The people at the auction was 1 empty nest and 2 younger family with no baby. And one had no baby and the other one had only 1 child.
Wow.
So the agent gave me the right prediction of who was going to be there at the auction, even before starting the renovation.
Geez.
So market research definitely pays off.
Yeah, well, you would have had to do a lot, especially, I think, being your first one and you're in a new country. There's a lot to learn. So it would have been Very overwhelming to kind of start that process. But how did you kind of navigate those emotions?
Great question. I think it was step by step because everything came pretty much, with each phase. So the first one was the research. Of course, after was, doing the renovation. Other one was dealing with the trades. And the last one, of course, is after you invest all the time and the money going through that selling process, it have to be quite stressful because we didn't know.
How it's going to end up.
Yes. And
Wow.
especially when you put all your money in one basket. So pretty much feel the stress.
Yeah, and you're just praying that that you've made all the right decisions in the renovation and that it's going to pay off at that auction.
Yes.
Wow. And, you kicked off a run of that, like that then started, that first one kicked off a run of 15 properties for you in your portfolio. How did you approach growth before data tools and buyer networks were common? Because back then there was, I think, maybe RP Data was probably the main source outside of realestate.com. There wasn't much, an ABS. So how did you approach all those? Now we have so much access to data, it's everywhere. How did you kind of approach it?
So when we ended up to sell the property in Canberra, we moved in Melbourne. And whilst I was studying at RMIT for my project management course, that was the goal at the beginning.
Right.
I started, start to see the market, and I pretty much end up to miss the growth of Melbourne because the interest rate were dropping. So pretty much buying in Melbourne felt like unaffordable. And so what I did was I went in a regional from Geelong, Ballarat, and Bendigo. And it felt like just everything there felt very cheap. So I pretty much used what I learned from Canberra. So I was looking who was going to buy. I changed the renovation because I wanted to keep property for rental. Where that one, the purpose was, just maximize. Where this one was most for rental. And once again, I used the same technique. I spoke with property manager, real estate agent, try to understand. And it didn't take long before I started to create a vision of, what to do with the renovation.
Yeah. So it's really like you just used the local experts at the time, which I think was very common 15, 20 years ago. There wasn't like all these resources. You generally went to the local agent or the local professional and said, what can you tell me? And now that you've mentioned Ballarat and all these locations, Ballarat at the moment is scary. It's hot as. Everyone is buying everything over there. I can't believe it. So it's funny to hear you say back then you went to those areas. Now there's some growth there.
I got a great deal back then. It was the things too with, the other thing I learned at the beginning was relationship with agent. Because, just inviting for a coffee, was just really genuine, try to learning from them. And of course, when you kind of ask a question, people want a so short expertise. So it felt like, I didn't need to rely on the data. Yeah. Was rely on the people.
Love that. And it's so different to today, so you've got a different way of approaching it. But
now it's more data. The relationship is so very important even today.
Oh, absolutely. Because people, as we were saying earlier, like when you arrived, there was our last guest and, we were all talking about how collaborative buyers agent communities are now. And it's not about this competition. We don't have the same competition that real estate agents, I think, amongst themselves. But when it comes to us, it's very different because everyone's got a niche or a level of expertise. Like I don't do renovations. I would always go to someone like you and go, you need to talk to Mario. This guy has stories.
Renovation are really great. It's kind of enjoyable process if you know, of course, what you do.
Yeah, well, that's right. And, do you think people today underestimate how much work actually goes into build a portfolio of properties like you have?
Oh, yes. It's, when I started, everyone said, it's harder now. And now after, 10 years, it's
harder now.
It's harder. So if we're looking, even at the price of 10 years ago in a regional or even in a Melbourne, in all Australia, were pretty much cheaper. And with COVID, everything has pretty much, pushed up. Plus we have high inflation, high interest rate. So it's kind of difficult, but the challenge is really comes about the mindset.
Yeah.
So, and when I say mindset, it's also how you kind of sharing a story. For example, if let's say you want to invite me out, say, Mario, let's go out for drinks. And I say, oh, sorry, I need to do sacrifice because I need to buy a house. It's kind of, you've pretty much now you feel like almost upset that you can't enjoy life. At the same time, if we were, let's just say, Mario, shall we go out for drinks? I say, no, look, actually, I'm planning to go in holidays in Italy next year.
Yep.
And if I just put the enthusiast there, now instead of be upset of missing out, we're actually going to talk about what we are going to do in Italy. And the reason why I mentioned this one as an example of holiday souls do sacrifice, we look for a sacrifice for something negative.
That's true.
Where actually we should focus on what comes after.
The goal, the outcome.
Correct. And so I think people are really kind. I remember these two story of on real estate. One couple from Sydney and one from Orange, New South Wales.
Oh, right.
It's a few years of the story when the interests were very high, and the couple from Sydney, they said, with the high interest rate, now we need to cut off, and we needed to sell our Lexus car, and we went to buy Toyota. For them, it was a sacrifice.
Okay, luxury car.
From Lexus to Toyota. And the couple from Orange, they were complaining, said it's the first time that now we need to make the sandwich from home, where we've been having lunch outside all the time.
Right. So it's just this mindset.
It's just a mindset, because if you think, Toyota is still a great car,
Fantastic.
Making a sandwich from home or your own coffee.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. But it's really how people perceive the sacrifice. And yes, when you want, build a property portfolio, step in your first property, there are things that you need to do today in order to enjoy the tomorrow.
That's right. So, and I think you've put it beautifully there by saying that it's that sacrifice, but the mindset behind that sacrifice. So it's like, yes, maybe you can't go to dinner every weekend or go out for lunch every day, but if in 6 months' time you're getting a really nice outcome from this renovation project that you're doing, or 12 months' time, I think then you can afford to go and buy 16 lunches a day again. So it's like just keeping your eyes on the prize of it's annoying now, but it won't be forever.
Absolutely.
It's very similar with your own businesses, right? It's the same thing. It's at the start, it's slow, but it's like just keep working, it'll come. And then when it comes, you're like, okay, this is why I did it.
Absolutely. And the other thing is also important is be surrounded by people to have the same mindset. It's I remember when I met my wife, after a few months, I said, I like you. I think we can do something together. But if you think that I'm going to bring you out for restaurants or going in holidays, I'm not that person. I came to Australia because I have dreams and I want to become a millionaire one day.
Wow.
And she's pretty much said, I love what you said. Let's do it. So that is also important because, when you're going to do extraordinary things, it's very hard to do by yourself. But you end up surrounded by yourself by extraordinary people, will be a bit easier.
It's true. I think you probably have seen this in your lifetime, as well as mine, but it's when I find when the big decisions come, usually it's around buying a house, having children, or becoming an investor, whatever that goal, that big, goal is for someone. You often find out who's there to support you and who's not. And this is where I think people talk about, relationship breakdowns, friendships break down or things like that. And it's like, well, this is so important. Like you said, you had that conversation at the very beginning with your partner. Said, listen, I'm here to do X, Y, Z. And I don't want to have any challenges. Like, are you with me? What are your goals? And the fact that, you were both aligned on, no, okay, I understand. There's going to be up and downs, but we're going to work through it for the goal. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So good on you guys for being so emotionally intelligent to have that discussion. So this is a note to all our listeners who are in relationships. If you are having these conversations, and even if you're single, have these discussions at the start, because you don't want to start buying property and then your goals are completely different. One of you wants to stay in the house for 10 years and the other one's thinking this is a five minute, plan or 2-year job. And then you move on. So you've got to be aligned.
Absolutely. It's actually more important than anything else.
And you know what? This ties into my next segment, which is Reddit myth busting and Reddit stories. And I love this because our listeners send in these stories that they come across, or some of them, it's their own stories, and they want someone to unpack it with them. And I say, well, tune into the episode where I'm going to talk to Mario about it. So I actually have 3 of them here that were submitted. Thank you to our listeners for sending these in. So Mario, are you ready to kind of tackle these with me?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so for our new listeners who are tuning in, this is the segment where I read out what you guys have sent in from the Oz Property chat on Reddit. It's usually a story or a question that's come from one of their contributors, and then we're going to unpack it with Mario, let him kind of give his spiel and his take on what he would do instead. And this will hopefully help our listeners learn something different with real scenarios. So let's do it. This first one, this person titled it, Buy a Renovated House or Buy a Do-Up? They say, trying to decide whether to buy a do-up or done-up property in Melbourne to live in. We can do a lot ourselves, but we'd rely on trades for bathrooms, kitchens, extensions, basically anything structural. What's the premium, if any, on done-up houses compared to buying plus renovating? So this is the comparison of the house is already ready to go, or do we buy something that needs a lot of work in it? So, Mario, when someone's stuck between fixing up a house and a move-in ready house, where do you usually start that conversation with your clients?
Great question. There are quite a few things that you need to look at. The first of all is what is the price for a renovated house compared to one that is ready to finish. The other one is, do you have the extra money? Because with the house that is ready to go in, even if you end up to have 5 or 10% or 20% deposit, you don't need the extra money. Where with the renovation, you need to have extra funds available.
Yeah, it's like ready to go.
Yes. And the other one is, let's just say we got to buy this property, take 100K to do the renovation. What actually would be the value after? It's what is going through all this stress and amounts. And after maybe, you can't don't see really much again. At the same time, too, we need to look for location too. If we are in a blue chip area where there is not much new, or you are a bit out in a suburb where maybe there are still a property there. So there is not a really good answer. But one of the things I will pretty much say, if it's the first renovation, stay away from structure. So even my first renovation that I did, pretty much was all cosmetic.
Yeah, right. Like the tiles, the carpets,
That
things
is
like
correct,
that.
because even if you end up to spend $20, $30, or $50,000, everything is visible. But with the structural things, buyer come there and they see the work you've done. Now, it's a bit different if we're just talking of open up one wall, now make modern, all the days the kitchen was separated.
Yeah.
But if we're looking of extension for the first renovation, you might ask a bit too much.
Yeah, it's like this is where sometimes you can open yourself up to too much at the start. So you would say that kind of that first, if you're going down the renovation path and that's your goal, that very first property is something that is a bit easier for you if you want to do it yourself. So it's like those cosmetic things that are less aggressive rather than saying we're going to add a whole bedroom to this property from day one.
Absolutely, because I also consider with the structural thing, it might take 6 months. For 6 months, you might have the rent plus the mortgage. And if from 6 months, it could take us 9 months. So how are you going to cope with the extra time?
And then the stress on top of that when it starts to get too much. And life happens too. If you're working more or you're not working, it's like all these things play a big role in how ready you are for this renovation as well. No, well answered. Let's go to this next one. So this person writes, renovating an uninhabitable home, which means a home you can't live in. So it says here, I'm looking at buying an uninhabitable investment property and renovating it to make it livable. It seems like the cheapest entry point, but it would need everything: kitchen, bathroom, bedrooms, outdoor, basically the whole home fixed within 3 to 4 months. Is it possible, or is it just too hard for too little gain?
Once again, we need to look for the location, understand, the total cost. But also if it's the first renovation project, we still come back to pretty much say you're going to choose a renovation where it's 10 out of 10 of difficulty,
Yeah.
and you don't have a team behind you. So everything you started there, and this from 4 months, it could take 6 or more. How this is going to cope with your holding costs. But also it's the outcome in terms of looking in that area and see what is selling a renovated home and what will be the value that we are going to add. With the renovation, a lot of renovation project, when you look at the numbers, they're actually not worth it. When I look at renovation project, I think I discard almost 90-95%.
Wow.
Because you're pretty much going to only, just to give an example, I was looking in Merton a month ago. For market, the tenant, is crashing the house. We're looking at this one. We estimate was going to spend around 70K to fix up everything.
Jesus.
And that was actually with our own team and traders where we get already discounted. If it was someone else, maybe cost even 100K.
Yeah.
And when we look to put an offer, they want around 530 to 550. I said to the agent, I said, look, I'm not even negotiating with you because I need it to be 450.
Yeah.
I said, if I spend 70, it will be 600 plus for the time I finish. Now I'm start competing with a brand new home for 650. It's not worth. I know there is a bit of land there because, it was a big land as well. So there is a space to maybe put a granny flat. But once again, when we look at the numbers, it was not worth it. And I didn't even initiate the negotiation. Said, if you want, you can start the conversation, but I will be at 450. And I literally disclosed all the costs to him.
Yeah.
He understood, but when he came back, said, Mario, we are too far away. The clients want this money. But again, the relationship is still there, but so it's not like we were creating a numbers up. So if you were doing the first renovation, I would suggest start with something easy. Start to build up the team, because once you start having a good plumber, good electrician, or a good builder,
reliable.
When you're going to, after finding a project that is a bit more complicated, you can bring them along. And you can pretty much use the expertise the same way when I started at the beginning. You said the expertise of other people, from a real estate agent, property manager, to help me out.
And I think that's like part of it. And we will cover this, but you've set up a business where this is now like a full package service that you offer. So it's like if someone didn't know where to start and they worked with you, you've got the contacts and the team that you can say, don't worry, I have a team. This is how much you have to have ready. Is that kind of how your service works as an advocate? So you're doing, explain your service to our listeners, I guess.
Great question. So I've got to share actually a story as well, because that then I will be able to answer your question. So we now offer a renovation project where a client will pretty much take care of everything. So from the acquisition, but also the renovation. And that is great because we can look at the numbers of before and after. And the other thing is also great. We're pretty much starting, kind of the journey for the client. Client came 9 months ago. We found this property in Wendouree, and it was all cosmetic renovation. So it was all flooring, painting, really nothing structural. 60 days later, we got 100K equity. Same client went up to purchase another property in Sebastopol for $342,000. But this property have underpinning problem, so we needed to lift it up. Now, with the first renovation, I did not bring him difficulty renovation. I just start with the easy one.
Yeah.
After the easy one, said, how did you go? Did you see? He started to see the result. And with the second one, because we pretty much, let's just say the cosmetic was costing, 50K.
Yeah.
The underpinning now it costs maybe 15.
Yeah. So
the decision was only on $15,000 because inside did not really make much difference.
Yeah.
And the client had the confidence in us and in the team to get this project where a lot of people might scare off us. So that is also why I'm saying when you start, it's better start easier. You build the confidence, you build the knowledge, and after it's easier for you to do
the next ones.
The next one.
And I love that because now that you've introduced not just the acquisition, like you said, of the house and the asset that's right for the customer to start with, that's what you're helping with, but then you help with the actual project, when it's live. So I think that kind of support that you probably would have benefited from when you started your very first project coming here, you're now giving the service that you probably wish you had back then.
It's great, but it's also the conversation to explain now to the client why we do something. For example, in the Sebastopol property, what we did, we changed the laundry.
Oh, yeah.
And we add the second toilet.
Oh, interesting.
So by adding a second toilet, it was kind of a bit of cost because it was on a slab of concrete. So we need, it was a bit more expensive. But that extra toilet gave us now the chance to increase the rental.
Yep.
And all the tenants that came through said, we like this one more because...
I think what people often don't realize with renovation is, like, I often see it as where you're adding value. And a lot of the time that's where the price bracket is different. So if you look at, let's say, a house with 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 1 car space, there's going to be a certain value, right? Let's say it's, 350,000 is the average. If, I'm not going to assume a place, let's say that's the price. But then when you look in the same location, but the house is now 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 2 car, there's a big jump. So these other properties that have the potential or the room to maybe add a second bathroom or add a 3rd bedroom, this is where the value is, because immediately you can see the difference. It's like, well, if there's 450, 500,000 in this bracket and you're over here at 350, immediately adding these 2 things is going to get you that equity up. Is that kind of what you think as well, or something different?
Yeah, no, it's all about it's about look at the value. And when you look also for the renovation, you kind of want to spot these things. For example, some property have the classic formal dining.
Yep.
That can turn in a bedroom.
How
many people now have a formal dining with no one? That is, you can actually even look to head, you can go from a 3-bedroom for a 4-bedroom. And literally what it costs you, it's just a plaster of wall that.
That's true.
It doesn't really cost a lot of money to create an extra bedroom.
Oh, I love that. No, really well answered, I think. And we'll go to this last one here, which is interesting theme, and I'll read it out anyway. But it says, is it still worth buying a fixer-upper? And that's just the question this person asked. Do you think it's still worth investing in a rundown property to fix it up, or is it smarter to buy something already finished and then adding to it, like, in your opinion?
Depending of the client and the strategy, the client that we mentioned before that we purchased to renovation, client were able to generate $245,000 equity, literally in 9 months.
Wow.
And the best part now, this client has only $40,000 on his own money in these 2 deals. So it's actually quite great.
Very great. I wouldn't complain.
The other thing with, the renovation can kind of create a few strategy. What it pretty much means, you can buy something for cheap. And sometimes when we're talking of renovation, even if, let's just say you buy that old apartment in the 70s, that great location, sometimes what they need is just a bit of painting, a carpet. And with the bathroom, depending on the condition, you might actually get away just with the painting. You can paint the tile, it look nice, and you pretty much already can start charging $30 more on a rental, and on an apartment of $350, pretty much, $30 is quite a
it's
pretty
a
much
significant.
You can make from a negative to neutral or even a positive cash flow.
Wow. That's just, and that those are those questions, right?
Absolutely. The other thing with the renovation, of course, you can buy properties that maybe offer more land. Later on, you can maybe do a subdivision, or you can do a granny flat. I say that buy renovation is definitely a great strategy, but with the renovation too, you could also maybe go to buy something that is actually still good. Maybe the renovation could come in 5 years' time or 3 years' time. So you get in the market.
Yep.
It's still rentable. Maybe may just need a quick painting.
Yep.
You rent it out. And after 3 or 5 years, you can go back there, save up a bit of money and do a nice renovation.
So it's all about the strategy from this, the step one is it's like, are you wanting the equity immediately to then do the next one and do the next one? Or is it something you can wait, spend time, just have it as a rental. So it's all coming back to the motivation. So, thank you for going through those stories with us. I think the way to tie this together nicely, and you've done a great job at sharing all these stories, because I feel like when you share a real client story like you have been, it's easier to picture myself or like our listeners, for them to picture themselves in the same position and go, okay, I see what he's saying. So I want to go through some more of those stories. I guess I want you to share a time when a client, let's say, came to you. They wanted, a renovation project, but you helped them find a smarter or simpler way through that project.
Oh, great one. So it's a kind of it came like, I think it was 14 or 15 months ago. So they already purchased a property during COVID where they did the renovation. But this one literally had termites. It was a nightmare for them. So they ended up to spend a lot of time. Pretty much when we had the meeting, I thought this is what a renovation project means.
Oh, right.
You just
That's
buy
normal.
crappy house and you fix it up. And there I said, look, let me share it with you. And I went with pretty much all the property I did for myself. I said, look, I showed you before and after.
Yeah.
And pretty much I just show, look, it's only cosmetic stuff. We don't need to go aggressive. We just, even the kitchen, we don't need, changing where the gas or the connection are. That is save money. And we actually end up to purchase a property again,
Yeah.
And I even went there one day helping painting, and I met the family, lovely family, all working together. And she actually ended up to generate 100K in 90 days in equity.
Far out.
And the only thing she did, and the other thing great, we purchased for 375 and 150. So what we did was really just hybrid floor in all the house, just painting, and we removed all the gas heating. We put a split system. New kitchen was very simple, and she did that as a part-time.
Wow.
So it was not his full time. He just went there, every fortnight, a weekend, a family help out too. Up to the budget, again, he said, Mario, this is so simple. It didn't need to be over hard. And again, he is happy with that renovation. And again, we reduce the risk, because remember too, when you go to invest, it's your money. So you need to be able to reduce your risk too. We're always looking for the reward, but actually, reducing the risk is actually very important. And with the renovation, so just showing that you can still make a good money by making simple.
I love that. And what a turnaround from the termites. It's like, to show them this pathway and in 9 months to get that type of result is phenomenal, so well done to you for guiding them on that journey. And, I think there was one story you mentioned about the digger's rest, if you remember. So this one is where you found an under-market deal with great tenants and long-term potential. What made that work so well for you?
That one actually will set all next week.
Congratulations.
It was a combination of a lot of things. And I always say luck is also part of when you are in the game. We have the client, he chose to be reinvesting.
Mm-hmm.
So he pretty much knew exactly what he wanted. Mario, I want to buy a property where I can pretty much add the value. So I would like to have space at the back where I can maybe put a unit. And we find this property where it's only 900 meters from the Agresta train station, 300 meters from the primary school. It's on 620 square meters land, and the property nicely sitting on one side only. So just the driveway, it's almost 6.5 meters. So just to give you an idea, you can easily put a fence there and do the subdivision later on.
Nice.
And the best part, we purchased for $505,000.
Not bad.
Comparable property selling from $560 to $580.
Yeah.
And the best part is actually the story behind why we were able to get with this price. The person that is tenant the property there has been there, I think, for 15 or 17 years. And he has been a great tenant. And the vendor, the couple, they want just now retire. They refused to sell for a high price because what they wanted was to retain the tenant and with the condition of not increasing the rental
Right.
for 2 years.
Gosh.
And that is when I say everything tick the boxes. It's the first property for the client.
Yep.
Even if we don't kind of do nothing for 2 years, it gives him now a chance to save up more money.
That's right.
We give us a chance to still maybe going with the approval.
Yeah.
And the great things for the next 2 years as a first investment, he knows that has a great tenants there. So there is no really risk for him of, maybe having the property not rented out. But he's a really great man. I took away to the tenant. And the best things from the agent to the tenant to the vendor to the buyer, and of course myself, we all were happy because everything worked out very well.
That's amazing. That's a great story. And it's nice to know, I think there's a bit of encouragement there too, that, there are landlords out there that do want to look after the tenants when they're leaving them behind.
Yes, tenants are very important part. It's pretty much when you have a great tenant, of course you want. But it's also the things of say, thank you. Even if I'm selling, I still look after you. So it's wonderful.
No, it's nice to hear. And thank you for sharing that. And it's clear from your approach that, this is about people as much as it is about property, right? It's like about the relationships that you're building, the connections you have, make a good deal, as well. So I guess I want to kind of we're coming to the end of our time and I can't believe it. So I want to ask you, how do you help your clients stay grounded, with their goals when they start shifting mid-journey? So it's like someone starts here, but then halfway through they start going over there.
That is a great one. Yeah, I have learned a lot because the property journey is kind of long journeys. Having a client conversation a few years ago to now, maybe things have changed. Best things I do, it's always listen carefully of what is maybe changing, but sometimes it's actually the frustration or it's the confidence. For example, when Victoria Market introduced the land tax, so you pretty much say, Mario, is still good to have the investment this year, should we change? And so that is really important that, you pretty much provide advice, but also using the data to show that, we're still on track to achieve the goal and this is just now temporary. In fact, it's not a coincidence. Now, Victoria is the hottest market in Australia, but sometimes you get people really looking just
one way
instead of broader up the big picture.
So it's kind of like to have the best clients that could work with you are people who can keep that open mind and that open opportunity to say, yes, I have this goal, but the way we get there, help me plan how we get there, basically. And you're helping them put those milestones in place and then bringing them back, come back to the goal.
With another client was actually a bit different, and that is, I would like to share this one because we are here to support and make sure that people have a better life. We had this client, a chef from Sydney, and we start the engagement. We look for a property, and we had this great opportunity. I said, look, the couple is separating, so we can offer to buy, a good price, but also we can rent it back to one of them once they settle down a bit. And he said, Mario, I just would like to talk with you. I found this great shop where I would like to open up a restaurant.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
And I could hear his enthusiasm and everything. And instead of pushing, so let's go to my house, I said, I think that is a great idea. You should go. Let's pause everything.
Yeah.
And we're pretty much encouraging, but also supporting for that decision. Because the last thing you want is,
stop the goals.
Stop the goal. So what was important for him was invest for a better future. And at the beginning, we thought property was a great one, which is still there. It's not like
it's all gone.
But now his focus and of course his money going towards to open up the restaurant.
That's amazing.
And so that is, again, when you listen very carefully, you care about the person, that it's easier after to just, sometimes you don't really need to do nothing, but just supporting or believing them. Because remember when we said at the beginning, it's when you want to do something, it's people that start believing you. So I didn't want to be that person that didn't want to believe in dream.
That's beautiful. I think, and sometimes all you need is one person to kind of say, no, I see what you're trying to do. Let me help you,
Yes.
So good on you for not ignoring him, going, okay, yeah, you want a restaurant, but let's start with the property. It's
Yes,
like,
I couldn't have said that one, but
no, you want to
roasting.
encourage him, and he would be happier too, because then this idea that he has and this dream or passion that he thinks is in the future, now you're saying we can bring that forward. Let's just put a strategy to do it.
Absolutely.
So I love that. Mario, before you go, this has been such a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much, for your time and your expertise. I think before we leave, I need to ask you, what is your no BS advice for someone about to start their first renovation? So if someone's listening at the moment and, they're still questioning, oh, yeah, but I want to do the renovation myself. What's your advice to someone who's going through this at the moment?
Look, spend a lot of time, do the research. We talked before about the chef. When you're cooking, 80% of the time go on the preparation. Cooking the meal, it's only 20%. So if you're looking to do your first renovation, really doing a lot of research, look up everything and be willing to say no to deals that doesn't make sense. Go only there when the deal makes sense, and also be surrounded by yourself, by people that have the expertise that they can step in and support you to finish. Because start, it's easier, but you need to be focused on finish the renovation.
That's a great way to end this episode, honestly. Mario, thank you so much for your insights today and for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
Well, thank you again, Mario. I think this story proves that sometimes the best deals aren't about doing more, but about doing the right things with the right people. Mario, thank you again for joining us. And if you want to contact Mario, as I always say, it is free to pick up the phone and have a conversation for the first time. Mario's details are in the show notes below today. So if you want to just reach out and have a conversation, talk about where you're at and what your goals are, you might be surprised about, the outcome of that call, and it might change your life. So don't be afraid to call. If you found this episode helpful, make sure you like it, subscribe, and share it with anyone thinking about renovating or investing right now. I'm Jo Agresta, and this has been the No BS Real Estate Podcast. We'll see you next time. That's a wrap for this episode of the No BS Real Estate Podcast, powered by Abodey AI. If you found this conversation helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might need it. If you're looking for more guidance on your home buying journey, you can visit www.abodey.com.au for expert advice, property insights, and the tools you need to find the right home with confidence. If you're already on your journey, you can also download our app. Just search Abodey AI on the App Store or Google Play. Have any questions or want to connect, you can follow us on Instagram at abodey.com.au or send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.